Mr. Mike Horsten has more than 35 years profounded business experience in digital printing. Listen very carefully. With emphasis on paper and textile finishing, workflow solutions, RIP software, and thanks to that, he also has great experience in traveling.
Don't believe everything she says, okay? I mean, she's been so nice to me. She wanted me to be here 2 years ago, so now I'm here, and now she tells that I'm 35 years in the business, which makes me look old and gray-haired.
I told you look good at the beginning.
Okay, good. But that was in Croatian. Anyways, let's start waking you guys up again. I think it's important. So let's start with something different.
Welcome to the world of AGFA.
And the funny thing is, most of you probably never heard of us being so well established in the graphic industry. People know us from the little photo roll. You know, photo rolls, AGFA, little cameras and all that. Well, we've moved along. We've really changed because AGFA is a lot bigger than you think. First of all, we're 150 years old, which is good. It's almost as old as me. We're located in Belgium. We have about 7,500 people. We have more than 40 different factories and locations around the world. A lot of people just don't know who AGFA really is. We have more than 35 R&D centers making new products every single day. These are things that people just don't know about us. And it's good, because if you look at all the different things we're in, you will probably say, I've never heard of AGFA being in radiology. Did you know that most of the hospitals in Croatia use AGFA equipment to see inside you? We know more about you inside than outside. If you've ever been to a hospital, at least. But for me, I am the last part. I am the industrial part. I'm the part that is going to make your life different. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, because I really believe to give you some fun facts. Like I said, 150 years old. But did you know that we're the #1 company in the world making film? Did you know that from every 2 newspapers, 1 of them is made with AGFA equipment? Did you know that probably every PDF you've used in your life was partly made by AGFA technology? PDF. Wasn't that Adobe? Yes, but it was AGFA and Adobe who made PDF. And the funny thing is that your passport is printed with AGFA technology. I'm sure of that. I checked, by the way. So let's talk about workflow, because that's why you wanted me to be here, right? So let's talk about workflow. Workflow is a difficult, really... Why should I stop? Okay, something is going wrong. The thing is, I don't want to talk about workflow. You guys want to talk about workflow? I don't want to talk about workflow. I want to talk about making toast. I want to make toast. Yeah, I know it sounds easy, right, to make toast. You know, everybody can make toast. Well, you'll be surprised how much toast and workflow can combine together. It is quite amazing to see that. If you think about toast, do you want Spanish toast? No, I don't want Spanish toast. I want Italian toast, or I want a different toast. Or maybe we have some sweet ladies and you want to have some cinnamon toast. So if we want to make toast, and we have so amazingly amount of choices, it comes down to workflow. But anyways, let's keep this simple and say we make toast with butter and jam. Okay, so really simple toast. What do we need? Well, we need to think about how we make toast. So I asked a group of people like you how to make toast. And you'll be surprised about the different answers, because everybody has a different workflow how to make toast. Really, it's amazing. First of all, what do we do first when we make toast? Well, we take a little bit of fire, right, to make toast. Or do we go a little bit more modern? The modern way is a skillet. I prefer a little bit more modern, the toaster. So, okay, let's choose the toaster. Let's go for the toaster and say the toaster is the right thing. So now we have the piece of equipment to make toast. Wow, compare this, your printer, your press. It's exactly the same. But we call it a toaster. And the toaster needs to have bread. By the way, guys, this is your substrate. This is your paper. This is your plastic. But I call it toast. By the way, hold on. Color management and quality control. Do we want white toast or we want black toast? Or somewhere in the middle. But let's get a standard in what kind of toast. And really important, the ink, the presentation. How do you present toast? Do you present it the left side or the right side? It's up to you guys. I mean, this is your company. It's your workflow. But again, we're talking about let's make toast. Let's go back to the basics. So when I ask people about workflows in toast, I found a lot of different people. And I found a lot of different ideas about how to make toast. The simple one, very complicated guy, he wanted to make toast all the way the process. So he said, I make the grain, I make the dough, I make the bread. Wow, you know, A to Z. Complicated, in my opinion. And then we have the French guy. We have a baguette. We only cut the baguette. We don't cut anything else. Only a little piece of the baguette. All right, so that's the cultural way of doing toast. Not my way, but okay. And this is a person that really got everything organized. He came from school. He was taught to organize himself and be happy at the end. Happiness is the #1 thing for this person. He is that round, happy man. Of course, there's always somebody in the audience doing their email. Probably here also they're doing email. This is what their picture looks like. Okay, we'll jump that over. And then we have the organized guy. You know, the really one that gets everything organized. He goes from step to step to step and makes sure that everything goes right. There's no difference. I mean, he starts with the bread goes in the toaster, something happens, and then something happens again, and then you push, and then it gets hot. You have to wait, the toast jumps out. Have you at home ever seen your toast jump out? Why do we always make pictures of toast jumping out? The toaster. It's never happened to me. I've looked hours to my toaster, and it never jumps out. It says clunk, and that's it. Do you have a different toaster? Tell me afterwards, because I want one of those. And then the guy is happy. Or the step-by-step guy again, you know, a little bit more clear. Do you notice the progression? You know, why? Because people are now starting to understand that workflow needs to be clear. And this guy, for example, is a multitasking guy. He has really thought about doing things a little bit faster, a little bit better than the organized guy. But most of us still are thinking in segments. I do the bread. I do the toasting. Don't touch my department. I don't want to be involved with the guy making the bread there. It's a different department. I have no idea what they do, and I don't want to know. That's really helpful for a workflow. Really helpful, because really communication is a part of your workflow, of any workflow. And if you ask the mechanical guy in your company, that is what the engineer will tell you. And don't even ask the electrician, because if you ask the electrician, he's going to tell you how the toaster works inside. All right, so that really helps nobody. The student, we can forget him too. So, oh, you know this guy? It's the guy that is in your company that always wants change. No, we don't use the toaster. Mike, yes, I know you said in the beginning, but let's use the microwave. And if you ask him why, he will tell you why. When he knows why. Because he really doesn't know why. Because it all comes down to the what and the why. At the end of the day, the simple guy says, I have toast, I want toast. Done. Or like me, very lazy, I go to a 7-Eleven or another convenience store to buy my toast. It's a lot cheaper and easier. But at the end of the day, we're getting in the workflow. Slowly, we're getting into a good workflow. And at the end of the day, your workflow of your toast pops up and becomes this. We start, we put the toaster on the table, we plug in the toaster, etc., etc., and all the way at the end, we have toast. Funny thing is, your company workflow is exactly the same as making toast. Just make sure those variables are different. Taking out the printer, taking out your substrates, taking out your ink. But at the end of the day, you want to know what you want to make. How to make it is a part of your workflow. Putting the process in is workflow 4.0. This is how you want to do it, because it's really important to analyze. You need to analyze the people in the workflow. If you don't analyze the people running the workflow, it doesn't work. You need the mechanics, your equipment, your procedures. If your printer can do 100 square meters an hour, don't make a workflow for 400. It will not work. Yes, and immediately I hear people, oh, we can do multiple shifts. Yes, so 100 times 3 is 300. It's still not 4. So make sure you're doing realistic things. And the supply chain, if you don't have enough bread, you're not going to make a lot of toast. So the workflow is not only a little piece of software in an ERP system. The workflow is really from the beginning of your company all the way to delivering it to your customer. The whole step. And if you do the whole step, you'll find out that it works. And if you look at all these steps that I ask people to draw, they all have one thing in common. They all wanted toast, which is good. They all wanted your print. They all wanted your end product. And how to get there? Well, you need to educate your staff. You need to look at the product. You need to get that in sync. Because if you make a product and your staff is in sync of making your product, you're going to finalize coming out with a real thing. Because at the end of the day, it is the mind of the person working in your company. Yes, the guy in the warehouse, the guy that does this all day. Shh. You've seen the guy? Did you know that he's the most important guy in your company? Did you ever realize that he is the most important guy in your company? If he does not bring the paper to the printer cannot print. And if he doesn't take away the printed paper, the room fills up with print and nobody gets anything. So remember the guy going that way, okay? He's an important guy in your company. He really is. So if it's clear to everybody what to do, how to do it, setting it up, you'll have a workflow. And you'll have a working workflow. Because you have to do it in collaboration with everybody in your company. Not management saying, this is how we're going to do it. That was 50 years ago, when I think Gorbachev was still around. He told you how to do things. Today we are a little bit more emancipated. Men don't have anything to say anymore. And trust me, I have 2 daughters and a wife, and even my dog is a girl. I have nothing to say at home. That's why I come to conferences, so I can tell you guys something. At home, forget it, you know. Even I have to ask my wife permission for my own barbecue. So, okay, well, you probably, most of the men here will probably recognize that, but they won't tell anybody. All right, so how does this apply to my product, which is flooring and surfaces, which is not really a product that you will be using every day, but the parallel is exactly the same. You need a very clear methodology. In other words, you need to make sure what you want to do. You need to have a combination, preferably, in our case, Agfa inks, the printer, and the software. If the company that is selling you the printer has good software, don't be a ... to find something else because you believe you know it better. Probably you're wrong. Listen to the people that are selling you the piece of equipment, because they know what kind of problems you will get because they've been there. Learn from these guys. Make sure you have clear support. You know how many companies in Brazil have a printer from brand X, and because of COVID, nobody can reach them? I know a company in Brazil, in São Paulo, that has not seen a service technician for a year and a half. His printer is just standing there. He cannot fix it, and the technician cannot enter the country. Cool. Really cool. So think about local support. Think about having somebody around the corner. Have clear objectives of the end result. Remember the Q&A of the toast? Have a clear objective. What is your quality? Guys, I don't mind if you have shitty quality for a low price and doing huge volumes. As long as you're making money, it's fine. And if you want to make banknotes, the best quality and very few of them, same thing. But begin by starting putting your objective from the beginning and say, this is what I want to be as a company. You cannot make banknotes for a very cheap price, and you cannot make brochures for a very expensive banknote price. It just doesn't work. We all know that, but we still make that mistake. And remember, this is industrial. So if you look at industrial, we in industrial are only a very small part of a process. This is a process of today's working of making laminates, flooring. Agfa is only a very little part there. We're only a little part. We're a humble little part of the total workflow. And if you look at how it looks, these are huge machines. And when I've printed all my paper, and I'm really proud of using Agfa inks and Agfa software and Agfa printers and Agfa people, and oh man, we're so happy. Guys, this is me. Here. I'm only a very, very, very small part. I was in one of the big laminate companies in Belgium, and there was this hall, hall, building, 200 meters long. And I'm going, wow, you can land an airplane here. This is serious. And then I said to this guy, I said, wow, this is amazing. This is a huge factory. I says, Mike, this is our proofing plant. This is where we do some testing. Where do you make the real thing? Oh, it's in the other hall, which is 400 meters long. So just realize where you're selling your equipment, because in my opinion, we did a great job, but we're only a very, very, very small part of that business. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to very simple things. It's a puzzle. Workflows are puzzles. You have to put those workflow puzzles together. And at the end of the day, if you really think about it, it's all these different things come together, in this case, around the Agfa ink. Without the ink, the software doesn't know how to do the right color management. Without the ink, the service guy doesn't know how to clean the machine. And all these things come together in my product. And I'm saying my product because I'm extremely proud of my Agfa product. All the things we talked about toast. Everything is in that machine, an industrial machine. Very heavy lifting, continuous printing. By the way, 5 kilometers of paper printing with no defects is something which today standard happens everywhere where we have this printer. So, highlight of this printer, just to give you some ideas. It's a heavy duty printer. 60 water-based heads. That's a lot of heads. Paper transport. 2 totally separate sections to print. You can print totally different images on both sides of the printer. Thinking industrial. 1 lane production, the other lane proofing, for example. It's up to the customer what he wants to do. When you look at those lanes, it really is something unique in the printing industry, having 1 lane really printing one thing and another lane printing something else with the same printer. And no, it's not pre-ripped that size. There are really 2 different images. 2 different rips running with 1 printer. If you think why we did all this, is because we worked. Instead of saying, AGFA, we know everything about flooring and surfaces, we said, let's work together with Unilin. Unilin is one of the biggest technology companies when it comes to flooring and laminates. Ever heard of Quickstep, Pergo, Mohawk? They're flooring. They're the biggest in the world of flooring. Instead of us being intelligent and saying, we will develop everything ourselves, we're AGFA, we're fantastic. We said, let's talk to these guys. They've been doing it for 30 years. They know better than us. Let's ask them how to do it. Let's learn from them. Understand flooring and get there. Understand that our pigment inks, water-based pigment inks, have to be different than a UV pigment. They have to be different colors. Our yellow is different than the yellow that you use. We use red ink. There is no magenta. You don't need magenta in a floor or in a surface, in a print. Remember, it's a different business. We don't print Euro scale, but you love your wooden floor. You love your kitchen cabinet. Did you know that all the IKEA you've seen in your life is this business? All these kitchen cabinets, all these flooring, all these billies and whatever you want to call them, they all have a laminate. And it could be HPL, it could be CPL. You can have a whole bunch of technologies where if you want to go into it with me, we could do it in the break. But there are possibilities. We have tested this printer for 2 years before we launched it. 2 years, we put $1 million equipment into factories in the most difficult places like Russia. Russia is always, we want cheap. It sounds familiar, right? We want very cheap. We give you 1 glass of vodka, then we want cheaper. They are running the printers today, a company called Slotex. They're running the printer 24/7. 24/7. Week in, week out. Production. Their second unit's being installed probably in January. Their first unit they received last May. This is production. They understand the production, and they understand that AGFA gives you that local service through your reseller, well-trained people. Really important. So, we have a couple of different things. We have a printer for what we call HPL, CPL, if you want to know, high-pressure laminate and compact laminate. Just if anybody asks you one day what is HPL, you can go, oh, HPL is a high-pressure laminate. It sounds so much more intelligent when you know what they're talking about. And we have what we call an LVT. You know what LVT means? Luxury vinyl tiles. This is the parquet which you can bend. It's simple. Now, so now you know 2 technologies. I think it's really cool to have it. But we need to remember one thing. AGFA is the next generation of product for flooring and surfaces. I wish every single one of you the best discussion of workflow within your own people, with own company, with your staff, talk to your husband or wife about how to make toast, that you learned something today, I would say thank you very much for being here with me today.